So Japan's new Prime Minister, Sanae Takaichi, just delivered her first major policy speech. And let me tell you, it's a bold and ambitious roadmap for the country's future. So what's the plan? Well, let's dive in and break down the key pillars of her agenda, from reviving the economy all the way to strengthening national security.
She kicked things off with a really powerful promise, turning anxiety into hope. Now, this isn't just some catchy phrase, It's a direct acknowledgement of the very real worries a lot of people in Japan are facing right now, and it really sets the entire tone for her vision.
Okay, so where do you even start with a plan this big? Well, for Takaichi, it all begins with building a stable foundation. Her first major move was to form a new coalition government. The goal here is to create what she calls a broad policy consensus. And the logic is pretty simple. You can't really have a strong economy or a confident foreign policy if things aren't stable at home first.
All right, with that foundation in place, it's on to the administration's absolute top priority, the economy. Her plan is basically a two-pronged attack. First, provide some immediate relief for people right now. And second, build a whole new framework for long-term growth.
And the most pressing issue, the one causing all that anxiety, is definitely inflation. Takaichi made it absolutely crystal clear that tackling the rising cost of living is job number one, period.
Now, what's really interesting is how she plans to do it. She's making a very clear break from the past, outright rejecting blanket handouts. Instead, her administration is going to focus on what she calls targeted, careful action. In other words, directing help only where it's needed most.
So what does that targeted action actually look like? Well, a new stimulus package is coming. We're talking subsidies for fuel, electricity, and gas to help households get through the winter. It's also going to provide direct support to struggling hospitals and small businesses. And this is a big one. The government is going to push for wage increases that actually outpace inflation.
Another huge piece of this puzzle is a major policy shift aimed right at household incomes. See, for years, Japan has had this so-called income barrier. A lot of part-time workers, often spouses, would intentionally work fewer hours. Why? To stay under a certain income level and avoid a big jump in their taxes and social security payments. Takaichi's government wants to get rid of that penalty for working more.
And they're not just tweaking it. They are raising that barrier in a big way, all the way up to 1.6 million yen. The goal here is pretty simple. Unleash that earning potential and put more money directly into the pockets of Japanese families. So, that covers the immediate relief. But what about long-term growth? This is where the core idea is something Takaichi calls crisis management investment. This isn't just about spending money. It's a strategic plan to invest in sectors that are absolutely vital for Japan's future security and resilience.
And the focus of that investment is crystal clear. The government is betting big that it can turn today's global challenges into tomorrow's engines for growth. They're targeting cutting-edge fields like AI, semiconductors, space, biotech, and cybersecurity, all with the goal of putting Japan right back at the forefront of global innovation.
But, a strong economy is just one piece of the puzzle. Takaichi's vision also goes way beyond that to strengthening the very fabric of the nation itself. This next section is all about building a more resilient Japan from the inside out. As one of the world's most disaster-prone countries, readiness is everything. Takaichi outlined a clear three-step plan. First, you have to acknowledge the urgent risks, like the potentially catastrophic Nankai Trough earthquake. Second, you accelerate preparations using advanced digital and satellite tech. And third, you establish a new national disaster management agency to coordinate the whole thing. She's also tackling the massive long-term challenge of social security. The plan is to create a national conference, get all the parties to the table, and try to build a consensus on a sustainable system for medical and elderly care, a problem, let's be honest, that Japan has been grappling with for decades. Okay, so with the domestic plan laid out, the speech then pivoted to the global stage. Takaichi dedicated a huge portion of her time to her vision for Japan's role in what is an increasingly turbulent world.
This is the goal she articulated. And it's a really powerful image, right? A confident, proactive Japan taking a central role in global affairs. It really signals a shift from a more reserved posture to one of active leadership.
But this new assertiveness doesn't mean going it alone. Not at all. She reaffirmed that the Japan-US alliance is still the absolute cornerstone of the country's security. And, at the same time, she stressed the need to strengthen cooperation with other key partners, like South Korea,
Australia, and India.
And to put her money where her mouth is, she made a landmark commitment. Japan will accelerate its defense spending to reach 2% of GDP, starting this fiscal year. That's a huge deal. It brings Japan in line with the NATO benchmark and signals a major shift in its resolve to strengthen its own defense capabilities.
So, what's the philosophy that's driving this entire agenda? Well, the end of her speech gave us a glimpse into the personal conviction that's behind all these policies.
She quoted the famous Meiji-era reformer Yoshida Shoin, saying, "One must begin from one's own place and act steadily." For Takaichi, that place is Japan. This really reflects a pragmatic, nation-first approach that's focused on steady, determined action to rebuild from home. And she closed with a powerful call for unity, defining politics not as some kind of solo act, but as a collective effort. It was a clear invitation to everyone, all parties and all citizens, to join in on what she's calling Japan's new first step.
So there you have it, a comprehensive roadmap for economic revival, national resilience, and a stronger global presence, all driven by this philosophy of steady, unified action. It's an ambitious plan, for sure, which leaves us with the ultimate question: